Welcome to the Anime Podcast channel. My name is Benji, and today, this chapter is too hype, man. Too hype. Now, first off, thank you, Oda. And I know there's a break next week, and I'll try to go ahead and hold down the fandom while you're taking your break, but you can take as long as you need, my guy. And to be honest, we have so much to talk about in this chapter alone to go ahead and theorize and discuss, and I'm not necessarily sure how the fandom is going to react during this break week, but we'll see what happens. And also, in this chapter, I'm going to drop my own theory as well that I was able to conceptualize with some of my guys in the Discord. But before we go ahead and break this chapter down, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Me and my friends Taj, Nick, and Phil come up with weekly podcast episodes on all of your favorite anime and manga series. And please go ahead and join our Discord, one of the dopest anime and manga communities out there. And I want to go ahead and shout out all of the members of our Discord, and a very, very special shout out to the members within our One Piece community. But without further ado, let's get straight into the chapter 1043 of One Piece. Let's die together. So we continue again with the cover page story happening in Whole Cake Island. And it's simply just Oven arriving in Whole Cake Island with the Vinsmoke book that he had in the last cover page story. And we see one familiar backside. We see Burleigh, and she's looking kind of extra thick.
Who?
I mean, what? But yeah, we see Burleigh. But seriously, let's move on to what happened last chapter with Kaido landing a huge blow. And that blow looked absolutely brutal, not even gonna lie. And it's all due to the bitch-ass CP0 agent that basically sabotaged our boy Luffy. And quick spoilers, he faces some consequences. Let's just say that. But basically, we see the aftermath of that, and Luffy is in terrible, terrible shape after this. And we also see the CP0 agent, and it kind of seems like he's already accepted his fate. I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with this one. And basically, he's put himself proverbially at death's door by interrupting this decisive battle between Kaido and Luffy. Especially looking at the face of dismay on Kaido this chapter, it kind of just adds more to the fact that this CP0 agent is going to get murked. And we see that Kaido's blow has created a huge crater that has put a whole dent in the top of Onigashima. And like I said before, we see Luffy looking extremely dead. He looks very much dead. Well, kind of. You'll see a little bit later. And we see a panel of the final bits of air that Luffy actually used in his Gear 4th kind of dissipate from Luffy's body. But the craziest thing that we actually see this chapter is that the narrator has actually stated that Kaido, the King of Beasts, has become the victor of this battle. Now, this may lead to a little bit of controversy, especially during break week within the fandom, but let's move on nonetheless. But after this, we see Kaido actually ask the CP0 agent, "What have you done?" And I think that Kaido hates the fact that he has won in this kind of manner, the same way that he was able to win against Odin years ago. And the CP0 agent absolutely says nothing, and I'm pretty sure, like I said before, that he knows his fate. But Kaido raises his Kanabo, and you don't see the hit, but yeah. But the thing that's funny, Kaido didn't hold back absolutely at all. He actually engulfed his Kanabo in Conqueror's coating and just unleashed on this nigga. And yes, the CP0 agent was a bitch ass, but I mean, even I don't think he deserved to go out like that. I mean, damn. I mean, that's all I gotta say. But you gotta give him credit, he was loyal to his assignment to the Gorosei. But after this, we actually see a panel of his partner actually tipping his hat, basically indicating that he is dead. I don't think anyone could have survived that. But a quick moment of silence to the CP0 agent. Rest in peace. Even though he was a op. Anyways, moving on, we actually see Kowamatsu, and he's basically telling the Samurai Alliance to go ahead and get to safety from the flames that Kazimbo started. But out of nowhere, we see a huge blast, and guess who has come back down from the skull top? And it is Kaido in his dragon form proclaiming that Luffy is dead and that Momonosuke should surrender right now. And the funny thing is, he still wants smoke with anyone who opposes him. He's like, yo, come on, step to me if you still want to fight. Now, this proclamation that Luffy is dead from Kaido actually lead to a bunch of reactions from not only the Straw Hats, but also Kid and Law. And their reactions really are in disbelief of the fact that Luffy couldn't have died. Yet there's one very interesting panel that shows Law says his voice has vanished. Does it kind of indicate something between Law and Luffy having some kind of bond between themselves, being Will of D clan members? Now Nami continues to reject Kaido's words and actually calls Kaido a liar and doesn't believe anything that he is saying. So Kaido viciously attempts to use a blast breath right at Nami, but at the very last second Marco saves her. And he's basically reiterating that this battle isn't over just yet. We have to keep fighting. But Kaido starts chalking his shit though. And if I'm going to be honest, Kaido has really surpassed my expectations for such a goated antagonist in this arc. Especially with what happened last arc. I really want to see what happens in his backstory. But Kaido says this: Onigashima will now land on the Flower Capital without delay. You'll find I won't be as soft as Orochi was. This country was just a great weapons factory to me. I don't care if there's women or children. Everyone here is my slave. Kaido, you are different. You'll be free to drop dead after your bodies can't work anymore. That's how you live the rest of your miserable lives. After all, I can always replace you when you're gone. You chose to oppose me. Facing my wrath now should come as no surprise. This is what it means to lose in war. You gambled your rights and dreams. Bring me Momonosuke. This doesn't end until then. Kaido is really a foul individual. And to be honest, there's really nothing that I can really redeem out of Kaido until we get a little bit of his traumatic backstory, which I'm pretty sure is going to be traumatic once we find out. Now, what really makes me wonder is what happened to Kaido for him to act like this, especially from those brief flashbacks that we got from King and Big Mom. But like I said before, I'm pretty sure that Kaido's flashbacks is going to be incredibly sad, and I really want to know what is his connection that he has or his knowledge that he has about Joy Boy. Especially a little bit later on in the chapter that we figure out. But moving on, we actually see a couple fodder beast pirates try to take on Law and Kid, basically because they're exhausted from their fight with Big Mom. And they are absolutely bums for trying to do that. But surprisingly, their crewmates actually defend Law and Kid, so maybe they might not be as useless as we thought they were. Later on, we also see a brief panel of both Carrot and Cat Viper. And then later on, we also see a brief panel of Law and Kid actually getting back up in hopes that they may need to go ahead and fight Kaido themselves. And basically, their thought process is fighting, even though they have nothing left, is better than surrendering or getting killed by Kaido in the end. Now, I don't necessarily like this because Kid and Law were, exhausted after the battle with Big Mom. And if they still have some attacks in the tank, their durability is on max levels. But I don't know, we will see. But moving on, we see a very important conversation between Momo and Yamato. Now, Momo is contemplating whether or not to go ahead and surrender, especially since Luffy has seemingly been defeated. And Momo says this: that would just be throwing away more lives. It pains me to admit this, but if Luffy's gone, our only option is to yield. But right after this, we actually get this very beautiful speech from Yamato, and it really encapsulates everything that Wano was all about, and more so the raid itself. And Yamato says this: I'm not letting that happen. They'll live, then what? They'll be slaves until the day they finally die from exhaustion. In the end, surrendering won't save anyone. All the daimyo that allowed Orochi to have his way went to their graves full of regret. Everything Wano endured for the past 20 years was for the sake of this very battle. Even if surrender is our only option, I'd rather we die together. Such a really dope speech, and it really sets the stage for the main attraction of this chapter. So later on, we see separate panels of fighting still continuing within Onigashima. Kaido is blasting people to oblivion, sending them to the Shadow Realm. Samurais are still fighting some of the beast pirates. And we also get a nice little panel of Yamato. But then this is where things start to get interesting. So we see Luffy and he seems completely obliterated and both of his eyes are blackened. Now this actually is very important. Hear me out. So here we go. We cut to Zunisha and he actually speaks to Momonosuke. And he says this really takes me back. Momo is confused and he says,
"What do you mean by that?"
But Zunisha continues saying this. I hear the drums of liberation. This is the first time in 800 years he is there without a doubt. Momonosuke says, who is? And Zunisha says this, Joy Boy has returned. And we end the panel with what it seems to be Luffy smiling with some kind of melting substance all over his body. And there's a very particular mouth quote that we actually get as well. And it says that he says Nika. And from what it looks like, I was right in my last chapter review. Luffy is entering his Devil Fruit Awakening. But holy shit, this chapter gave me so many chills throughout the whole thing. And we have a lot to talk about that I may put in separate videos along the way. But there's two things that I really want to kind of get off my chest for this chapter review. Now first, I want to go ahead and address the is Luffy Joy Boy situation. And it's kind of a yes or no situation. And what I mean by that is yes, I do believe that Luffy has the same Devil Fruit as Joy Boy. But I don't necessarily think that Joy Boy is possessing Luffy. I believe that Zunisha recognizes now that the aura that Luffy is emanating right now is the same as 800 years ago with Joy Boy. But obviously this is just my speculations and I really want to go ahead and know what you guys think in the comments down below. But let's get into that very last panel where it seemingly seems like Luffy is entering his Devil Fruit Awakening. So basically, let's theorize what form Luffy is taking right now. What might we see from this Devil Fruit Awakening and how was it obtained? So to start from the panel, it looks like Luffy is seemingly melting, which is pretty odd when you think about any kind of awakening that Luffy may have had. Rubber melting. Pretty odd. But hear me out. I believe me and some of the members on our Discord have cracked the code. So if you look back at chapter 1039 of One Piece, you actually see a very cool cover spread of the Straw Hats in the rainforest. And everything looks like a typical standard cover spread of our favorite Straw Hats. Yet if you look closer, Oda uses some incredible foreshadowing in this color spread. And we see a monkey with a crown pointing to what seems to be tree sap. Now the monkey seemingly signifies Monkey D. Luffy. Yet the crown I believe is a hint to Luffy finally becoming the Pirate King. Now the tree sap that the monkey was pointing to seems very similar to the same kind of materialization that was happening to Luffy in chapter 1043. Now how does this relate to Luffy's awakening? Well, if you take a look, we know that Luffy's Devil Fruit is rubber based. He's a rubber man. And in nature, rubber's natural form is latex. Don't get any ideas. I know what you're thinking. But the thing about it is, latex is made from the sap of rubber trees. Meaning that Luffy may have the properties of latex for his Devil Fruit Awakening. And also, interesting enough, shout out to James and Prism in our Discord for actually pointing this out to me. But we know that Luffy's nationality, according to Oda, is Brazilian. Well, rubber trees actually originate from the Brazilian rainforest. Meaning that the sap that we see in the cover spread is very synonymous with the Brazilian rubber trees that we see in Brazil. But moving on quickly, what could we see from this power-up? Now this is very speculative, but let me read the properties of latex itself, or at least the definition. Latex, a milky fluid, that consists of extremely small particles of rubber obtained from plants and dispersed in an aqueous medium. Now, what does this mean? I feel like if Luffy's awakening is truly that of latex, I feel like he'll become more so with the properties of a Logia fruit such as Katakuri that we saw back in Whole Cake Island. And if I'm being really crazy, we may see some different forms that Luffy may take, and in a way could start having some shape-shifting abilities just like Sun Wukong, since Luffy has a lot of connections with Sun Wukong itself. Now this might also lead to Luffy actually changing the properties of rubber around him being able to kind of do the same thing that not only Luffy did with his awakened devil fruit, but also Katakuri. And moving on to the last one, how was Luffy able to obtain this power? Now, to be honest, I have no clue, but I do have one theory that is very interesting. Now, big shout out to Parvision on YouTube. He comes up with excellent One Piece discussions and theories here. And basically, he mentions this. Every successive user of a devil fruit inherits a particular personality trait as the previous user. Ace and Sabo, for example, and now we may be seeing Luffy and Joy Boy have the same thing. So maybe down the line, Joy Boy was able to have this fruit, the Gumo Gumo no Mi, from what we know of, and basically he's able to reconnect with Luffy in some kind of way, shape, or form. And this may also explain why Luffy seemingly said Nika when he actually grinned at the last panel, basically referring to the sun god Nika. Now, this is far-fetched, but anything is possible in this crazy-ass chapter. But with all this being said, please let me know what you think of this chapter and what do you think about certain elements that are going to happen a little bit later on in the next chapter of One Piece 1044. And yes, it's break week, but Oda, take all the rest you need, you beautiful genius. And we will be waiting, and I'll try my best to hold down the fandom, but no promises. I don't know what's going to happen during this break. But with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in into this chapter review. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe if you liked the video. And I'll see you guys in the next chapter review.